Hi guys, my name's Ananya. I'm the creator of the Pleiadian Healing Centre. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the building evidence that's pointing towards the coronavirus global pandemic actually potentially being a global mass awakening. So stay tuned. Hey guys! So, it's the first time I've made a video in quite a long time and I feel a little bit weird about it. Yeah, it's strange times that we're living in. Hey, lots of intense emotions going on, lots of different things to process in terms of our own personal journeys, but also, what's happening on the global collective level, our feelings of safety and security, just a lot going on really. So my general feelings about things as I've been watching this unfold, I've been seeing this kind of playing out of things and looking back at the mass meditations that I've taken part in. Taken part in the past. And I've been seeing how there's like this parallel running along. So it's like, okay, this kind of feeling of a sort of a global reset. And I didn't think it would be through a pandemic. I think that's something that we've all been kind of blindsided by. But I think there are a lot of people out there who are very intuitive, very kind of, connected to the other realms, who've been sensing that we're in for some kind of like mass awakening, global reset, financial reset, something on the planet's got to change kind of a thing, or we're all just going to blow ourselves up. But I've never felt that was actually going to be the case, that it would ever go down the negative route. I've always seen the kind of the most light-filled, optimistic path. And that's partly because of the inner work that I've done on myself, like relentlessly for so many years, has allowed me to clear my channels of perception so that I can connect with and communicate with other beings on the other realms, extraterrestrials and stuff, to kind of get this broader picture of what's going on. So as we've been watching this unfold, I've kind of had this level of peacefulness in the background. That's not to say my emotions aren't fluctuating, because there's definitely a lot to process. Part of it in some ways is almost like a grieving, I think. For those of us who can feel that there's an ending coming, there's an element of grieving as well. But yeah, underlying it all, I've just felt this kind of knowingness that everything's going to be okay, and we're heading towards something hopefully quite amazing. My prayer, my wish, my desire is just that it happens in the smoothest way possible, and that people don't just go into total panic meltdown. But for the larger part, I kind of don't really think that's going to happen. I don't think we've been seeing it happen in like the other countries that have been through this already. So what I wanted to do is share with you guys the kind of evidence that I have noticed about how this whole situation, to me, has got like mass, like global awakening, spiritual awakening, shift of consciousness written all over it. So here we go. So the first thing that makes me kind of see this as being a global awakening is that there's this real unification amongst Earth's global citizens. So there's this kind of like synchronisation of all beings on planet Earth right now. We all know about the coronavirus. Everybody is relating to it in some capacity. Everybody's got an opinion and a perspective on it. They have an experience of it. It's something that's so on the forefront of our global attention right now. Got church bells in the background. That's nice. Sorry. It's like so on the forefront of our global stage right now that everybody's focus and attention is being drawn into it. And while we don't want that to be like people to be focused on it collectively in like a fearful and panicked way, what it does mean is that there's this real sense of unification. It's like our consciousness is like merging more than ever into this one centralized, I don't want to say the word centralized because that makes me think of like AI taking over and stuff, but you know what I mean, like this kind of really unified collective where we're sharing something right now. We're sharing a commonality. There's something that all people are experiencing right now. And that really brings us together in a funny kind of way. It really joins and unites people. So that to me is quite a strong pointer towards this being a step into a mass collective awakening. The second thing that has been really interesting that I feel is pointing towards it being a global awakening is the way people are responding to this, at least from what I've seen in the UK, and obviously it's been different in different countries, but my personal experience has been like witnessing the most incredible acts of kindness from people. Like people are rising to the challenge, like it feels like people are really caring about each other, even down to things like, we had like the panic buying and stuff, which I think is kind of, it doesn't surprise me that people are panic buying. For those of us who've been expecting something like this to happen for like the last 5-10 years, we've had our stocks there. And even my family and I have been expecting something like this, and even we weren't that well prepared and stocked for it. We kind of were, but we kind of weren't, because we expected it so many years ago that it's like, we always just ate through our supplies. But we're all stocked up now, it's all good. But yeah, even things like people emailing the CEOs of the supermarket saying, hold on, like, what about elderly and vulnerable people? They're not getting what they need. And then they're responding by making sure that there are allotted times that they can shop there. And they're contacting their customers to make sure that they can still get food. There's people putting notes through each other's doors, making sure that they have each other's numbers so that if they need any support, they're there. There's people giving each other information they have about like health and nutrition. It's just this real sense of like people really taking care of each other, and acts of like kindness and unconditional love that you just don't see to this level on a day-to-day basis. So it's like that crisis, that squeezing, that shake up really in some ways brings the best out in people and brings those kind of Christ consciousness qualities of unconditional love and compassion to the forefront. And as that energy kind of takes over and becomes more like prominent and dominant in the collective field, again, it's like mass awakening. It's happening. Number 3. These are in no particular order, by the way. I was just like scribbling down ideas as I was thinking about this. So number 3, an increase in creative expression. So something that has been really, really stifled in the control matrix on this planet for many, many years is the free and abundant flow of creativity. And part of that is because productivity has been like entrenched and tied into capitalism and money, and it's all, you have to earn money basically to pay the bills, don't you? And once you get into that cycle, unless you've been able to create your income as being based on your creative expression, which very few people have, then there's not much space left for it. So something I've noticed is that people who are self-isolating or feel like they're stuck at home or whatever, people are really getting creative on social media. They're like putting together their talents, their gifts, their outlets, and expressing it to the world, showing it to people. And it's like that, again, it's that restriction, isn't it? And that constriction, it's like change, the unexpected and so on. It kind of is bringing out this this thing where we shift internally, we bring something forward in us that wasn't there before. And so I love this side of it. It's like people even like just getting dressed up. I mean, I have not got dressed up today at work. I haven't done any washing for over a week because I don't have to anymore because my little boy is not going to forest school, which I'm sad about that. But I'm not sad that I've had a break from constantly washing clothes. But yeah, so people are really just digging deep and expressing themselves, and I think it's perfect. we're already feeling uncomfortable, get more uncomfortable, express yourself to the world. I can't tell you, like, the basic videos that I've seen shared by, like, friends, or even just, like, the hilarious memes that are going around about coronavirus. Like, these are all people just expressing themselves, and it does bring, like, little bursts of joy into your life, and it helps you feel more understood, and it inspires you. So be creative. Okay, the fourth reason I feel that this is pointing towards a global mass awakening. So, reality has been cracked open. Life is not what people thought it was. There is deep, deep change. Something that we thought didn't even really think about. Many people never probably even considered that something like this could occur. The people who have been in the habitual routine day-to-day life for a long time, some for years, some for decades, reading from the same newspapers, watching the same news on the TV, in very kind of like enclosed pockets of familiarity, all of that is being cracked wide open. And I was thinking about those times where I've been through like tremendous challenge in my own life, where I feel like myself I've been cracked open. And that for me has been the greatest times of my spiritual awakening. Those times where you feel like you are being almost like destroyed from the inside out. I know it sounds awful and that sounds kind of extreme, but my kind of like example of that is when I had the flashbacks about my dad abusing me when I was a kid. That just like, my reality was like, what is happening? It was so excruciatingly painful. It was insanely painful to even begin to acknowledge that it was real, and also the impact it had had on my life and how much damage it had caused me, and all the rest of it. However, it was almost like so unbelievably painful. It was so beyond anything that I knew how to deal with, that I just like, it's like I was turned inside out, and just you change, you transform, you've got no choice. Everything is like so radically different from that point forward that you have no choice but to evolve. That's the word, evolution. So I feel like this at the moment is so hugely breaking people out of their normalized routines. It's making them think in different ways. It's making them think in a very excuse me, a very existential way. Like, what is my role here on this planet? Like, if my job's not safe, if my family are potentially not safe, if all of these things which I'm so used to being like the constructs of my reality are potentially breaking down, who and what am I? What am I here to do? What is my purpose? Why are we here? All these kinds of questions I feel are coming to the forefront, but it's not even necessarily at the conscious level, and it's not even necessarily at the level of like an internal dialogue. It's just an energetic, alchemical, transformational thing. So I think I can feel it, I can sense it in the people around me, and yeah, I just think it's incredible. Point number 5. This kind of relates to the last one I was saying, but next reason why I feel this is pointing to a global mass awakening. So people's identities are very tied up with their jobs and their earnings. It's so time consuming, it's so all consuming in people's lives, that to have that taken away, that whole feeling of like, this is who I am, this is what I do. It's like, we all know when you meet someone new, it's like, oh, what do you do? It's, even as somebody, I consider myself, relatively awakened, I still, in those kind of social situations, will say, oh, what do you do? Because it's just what people say. And then afterwards I'm like, oh, I don't like that I asked that. But it's still kind of like that groundbreaker before you get into like the deeper stuff, if that's where you're going to take the conversation. So by dismantling people's identities and that whole aspect of their personality, because you're basically taking away this control matrix of the finances and the capitalism and that sense of us that is a part of that, like our legal identities, everything. I mean that in terms of like common law or not common law, you know what I mean, or you don't. But yeah, those parts of ourselves that are kind of like created as this identity that goes out, is a worker, gets money, lives a certain lifestyle, has a certain car, lives in a certain kind of property, you know, all that kind of stuff. That is being dismantled now. And instead what's replacing it is pretty much like enforced quiet time. People might be like binging the hell out of Netflix right now. I don't know. You know, I'm not saying that I haven't done a little bit of binging myself, but there is so much time now, if you're at home, that there's time to rest, there's time to reflect, and essentially just spend time like with your soul, like, you know, that quietness that is so needed on this planet. Like, we're also doing orientated, I say on this planet, but I basically mean the Western world when I say that, you know, and instead just that time to really just settle into ourselves, allow something from with us to emerge outwards. Hey guys, my family. Oh, don't want my son to come out right now, but he's gonna come out. That like deeper part of ourselves to emerge, like that natural vibration of our soul frequency to actually start to like resonate within us and amplify and come to the forefront, which again to me is spiritual awakening. Like, you take away that false identity, what have you got left? You have to find yourself. You don't really have a choice. That's just a natural part of this process. Point number 6. So I feel that people are being really squeezed right now to have faith in something bigger. So reality as we know it is changing irreversibly. Do you go down the route of genuinely believing that this is like the apocalypse and humanity are going to wipe themselves and the entire planet out? Do you really go down that route? Do you allow all those movies you've seen, movies or like TV shows like The Walking Dead and stuff, to kind of sit there in the back of your mind and seed that thing of like, like 28 days later, all that kind of stuff, to seed that into you that this is basically a zombie apocalypse? Or do you have the knowing and the vision and the connectedness to your own heart to see that this is something bigger, beautiful, deeper? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you essentially it comes down to like, do you choose the path of fear or love? Cheesy as it sounds. And I think that through the way I'm seeing people's behaviours, I believe that people, the majority of people in this squeezed situation, are choosing to see this as something bigger, which means choosing to believe that there is something more out there, choosing to have faith. And it's like that little seed of resilience and human hope takes root and blossoms into something that is like a deeper connection with everything, a faith that there's a higher divine purpose to all of this, rather than this just being like some crazy, awful tragedy at the end of humanity. So yeah, one other thing that just occurred to me actually that I feel is going to wrap this up nicely is that if you have read any of people like David Wilcock's books, Greg Braden, I think the two that spring to mind right now are David Wilcock and Greg Braden on this particular topic, but summarising all of the ancient prophecies who've said that there is a great cycle that lasts approximately 25,000 years. It's a cycle of consciousness. Consciousness rises. We live in these states of like... I guess like higher dimensional consciousness, perhaps fifth dimensional consciousness, and then there's this descent into darkness, and then it rises again and then into darkness. There are so many ancient prophecies and texts that come together that point to this particular time that we're in as being a mass awakening. We thought it was 2012. 2012 was definitely something, but it wasn't what we expected. And I'm not saying that this definitely is either, but if there is anything that I have seen in this life so far that has looked to me like the huge, deep, great awakening that we have been expecting to happen on a mass scale, And, you know, it's not just about people going through a spiritual transformation. It is about the takedown and the removal of everything that is preventing that natural spiritual evolution and ascension happening. So it's the takedown of the propaganda media. Like there's 6 corporations that control the entire world's media. Do you know how crazy that is? Like, when I say the entire world's media, that I mean like the mainstream media, I should say. So it's about the removal of these aspects as well, so that we can naturally blossom and evolve, and for light just to drench this planet, and for everything to be restored to harmony. You know what I mean? Just like, it's coming. It's coming, my friends. Yes. So I thank you so much for sticking with me and watching all of that. I know it's been, well, quite a long video for me anyway, gassing away out here. Look after yourselves, stay safe. I do believe it's a dangerous virus, you know, let's not be naive about it. You know, you need to really, really look after yourself. You don't want to be catching this thing if you can do anything to avoid it. And you also don't want to be spreading it to other people if you can do anything to avoid it. But prayer, intention, a feeling of like safety and security, and holding on to a higher vision of peace and divine perfection will actually have a real tangible effect on the outcome of this. So sending you all so much love. Thank you for sticking with me, and I will speak to you again soon. Mwah. Take care. Bye.